I've got this great idea and I want to start pitching my idea to companies. But do I pitch to a small company? Do I pitch to a big company? And is there a difference? Watch this video. Okay, everybody, we have the famous Dana Knowles. She's our secret weapon at inventRight. She runs a department at inventRight called Inventors Relations, and she's got a big role here because she's reaching out to companies on your behalf with a program called Gateway. Okay, you've got a great product idea and you don't know what to do, and you want the pros to help you. We have a new program that's called Gateway, where we do all the heavy lifting for you. We're going to find the right companies and the right people to make sure your product is pitched correctly to get the licensing deal. And when the licensing deal comes on over, we're going to help negotiate it behind the scenes to make sure it's fair and balanced. So if you want the pros to do all the work for you, please check out our new program at inventRight. It's called Gateway. So Dana, thank you so much for coming on inventRight TV.
Thank you.
Dana,
Steven.
you do a job that I don't particularly like, and you've gotten very good at it. And I cannot thank you enough for doing that, because you're reaching out to companies, and you're reaching out to companies that are looking for ideas from people like us, and you're kind of being this, you're like a dating site. I kind of look at you as like a dating site. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and an inventor has an idea, and you find a company that's looking for an idea, and you bring them together. So it's Dana's dating site called Gateway. How you like that? All right.
I love it.
It's a tough job. I know it is, because I've had you do some work for me in the past. I remember I wanted to get into Walgreens, a special guy at Walgreens, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I'll call Dana. Dana did it. Next thing you know, I'm on the call with a buyer from Walgreens. So that's when I was like, you're really good at this. All right. So we're going to talk about, because I'm going to have you on talking about how to get into companies for everybody, how to get into big companies, how to get into small companies, and how to navigate that world to find the right company, but also the right person. Okay, so tell me, is there a difference when you're reaching out to a big company or a small company? Is there a difference?
Huge difference. Huge difference. And I'm glad you kind of told me what we were going to talk about, so I could think about what are the differences. And I know the differences because I reach out to small companies and large companies and middle-sized companies, and our team reaches out, but there's a big difference.
Well, what is it, Dana? Give us some secrets. You guys, let me tell you what's really amazing. When Dana does this, and she does it all day long, in fact, there's a team at a Gateway that's all they do all day long, is call companies at different sizes to get certain products in front of those companies to see if they want to license those ideas. So Dana, the big companies I know probably take you a little bit more time. Is that probably the biggest thing, is that you're going to have to be more patient with the bigger companies?
Absolutely, because your list of people you're going to reach out to is going to be a lot larger. One thing that, it's one of the easier things about reaching out to large companies, and I think I said this before, is a lot of times they have a DAO by name directory. So that when I hear that, press 9 for a DAO by name directory. Now, sometimes their DAO by name directories are really wonky and they don't work and you just can't find that person. But the time and the research that we spend, and I spend, our team spends, just researching and finding people to get into, like finding the names of the people and the titles of the people, and then trying to find their email, trying to find, do they still work for the company? What's their title? That's the time consuming part of a larger company. So,
Okay.
and I think too, with larger companies, there's so much red tape in larger companies, and there's so many processes. And so when I'm reaching out to a larger company, and if I do, I'm going to ask them, what is your process? Because they usually have a process.
All right. Dana, let's talk about doing the homework for a minute, because I think you said to me early on, it's really about doing homework. So talk about that. What do you mean homework? What type of homework are you doing?
That's like 90% of it, I think. 95% of it, maybe 99% of it is going to their website, hours and hours and hours looking at their product line to see if your product is, or whatever product we're pitching for Gateway, is a good fit. Because the last thing we want to do as inventors for the whole inventor industry is to pitch an idea to a company that's not a good fit. And
Uh,
that's, I learned a lot about that in inventRight, being an inventRight member years ago, that it's research and homework, a lot of it.
so if you're reaching out to a big company, how important is to get to the right person? And who is that right person?
Sometimes, well, we have certain titles that we look for. I mean, I'm certainly don't want to talk to somebody in accounting or somebody in warehousing. I want to talk to somebody, in shipping. I want to talk to somebody, product development. I go right to the CEO. I go right to the top. I'm just like not wasting any time. And it's funny because you've taught me that, because I know to our members, you give your telephone number out to all of our members. And you say you do that because a lot of our members don't call you. And I'm thinking, well, wait, now you're, the CEO of inventRight. I don't think that's your title, but in our minds, you're the CEO of inventRight. And if people aren't calling you, well, then maybe they're not calling these CEOs. So I'm going to send them an email. So I'm going to go. So it's by titles. And we learned that in inventRight. Who am I looking for?
Right.
And a lot of times it's, I go on LinkedIn if I can find them. I look at their bio. I see what do they do, because there's something that I learned interesting. Product development can also mean product development in like technology, means they run their website and they do that kind of, that's interesting. So I have to go in and dig and read, what does
Okay.
this person actually do for this company?
Okay. So,
And yeah, so that's, yeah,
so you're telling me it's going to take more time. You're telling
absolutely.
me that I need to learn the process. You're telling me that if I can get this dial by directory, that's going to help me a little bit, but that could also
Mhm.
could be a little frustrating. So it's also really doing some homework with the bigger guys and being more patient. Okay. What about the smaller companies? What's the
Well,
difference there?
smaller companies are, it could be a large company that does a couple $1 million in sales a year, even $5 million in sales a year, but they only have 10 staff members. Like
Oh,
they're running this massive company, but like in the office, the people who are the decision makers, there might only be 5 or 6 people in that office running the day-to-day show. So a lot of times when you call, you're going to get the secretary or someone at, receptionist, and
right.
they know what's going on in that office and they know exactly who you need to talk to.
Oh,
And yeah, so a smaller company is, they're I think with smaller companies are more apt to talk to us. And when I say smaller, I don't mean like mom and pop, mom and dad, manufacturing something in their garage. Smaller company can do 5 or 10 million.
sure.
Mhm.
So when you're dealing with a smaller company, is the process sounds like it's a little faster.
A lot faster. Everything is faster because there's not so much wet red tape. Where a bigger company, it has to go up the chain and down the chain, and everything has to go up the chain and down the chain. With a smaller company, usually you're going to be talking to the decision maker.
Okay. Everybody gets a little confused too, Dana, because when we're talking about bigger companies, in fact, everybody wants the biggest company, right?
Of course we do.
Okay.
Of course we do.
Well, it's the distribution, it's the name recognition, it's all those things that people really want. But is that necessarily the best company at times?
No, no. Well, I always say, when reaching out, we should, it takes practice to learn how to talk to people. I mean, we're talking to them just like we're talking here, just like we're talking if we would call a neighbor or a relative. There's no different, but it's just, what are you going to say? You want to sound professional and you want to sound like, and especially if they ask you questions. And sometimes we have the answers and sometimes we don't.
Okay.
I learned if I don't have the answer, I just say, you know what, I'm not sure about that, but let me get back in touch with you. Because I don't have to have all the answers. And I think they'll respect that, other than for me to just make something up. But um, it's a lot quicker with the smaller companies.
Okay.
There's just not so much red tape.
Okay. Are you nervous, less nervous with the smaller company versus the big company?
No, I'm not less nervous. I'm nervous with them all. I, I And I think that that a bit of nerves is a good
Okay.
thing.
All right.
But my nerves, I always talk about the win. The win of getting into a company is like no, even just to have a conversation with somebody over in a company is like a kind of a natural high. I think I've called you a few times, said my dopamine's off the chart, especially when I get into one of the sharks, the companies that are the sharks, and get that direct person that we need to, that's going to look at the idea or that's going to pass it off to his team. And that's one thing about bigger companies
Okay.
is they usually have a team of people who look at ideas, not just one person. And sometimes they don't, they look at ideas every 3 months, every quarter, once a year, where smaller companies kind of look at them as they come in and make the decision like right, they can almost make the decision right then and there. Either yes, we want to talk about this, or no, we're not interested.
Dana, great information. You're killing it at Gateway. I know that you guys ring that bell of all those companies you get into daily. I
Yeah, we
love what
do.
you guys tell me.
We had a ticker tape parade, a
So
gift ticker tape parade
I
when
know.
we hit how many companies?
I, I love it.
500.
Yeah.
We're five.
Dana,
We're well over 500 now.
yeah. Dana, thank you so much for coming on and helping us understand how to navigate the world of getting into companies big and small. This is Dana Knowles. She's our hero at inventRight, the new program called Gateway. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Stephen.